Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Chris, and welcome back to once again another episode of ManicManiac Predicts the 2016 NFL season. How is everyone doing today? I am doing very well. Happy holidays, everyone. This is an exciting time for the NFL because we are now in the 2-week stretch. We basically know at this point what the paths for every single team is. We know who has to win and who has to lose in order for a particular team to get in. In front of me, I have all the playoff scenarios, which is fantastic. I will be reading those off as we do our little prediction records and stuff. I also will have the Pro Bowl players in front of me as well. We'll be going through those in just a minute here. But it's week 16. It's Christmas time, and it's very, very exciting. And this Saturday is actually going to be our full slate of games, not Sunday this time. So in case you're curious, you don't know what's actually happening, Thursday is going to be a regular primetime game. That'll be Giants and Eagles. Then on Saturday, you have basically, think Saturday is the Sunday, essentially. That is the full slate of games starting at 1 o'clock, then having the next slate at 4 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock is the primetime game on NFL Network between the Bengals and Texans. On Sunday, which is Christmas, you have a 4 o'clock game between the Ravens and Steelers, and then an 8 o'clock game between the Chiefs and the Broncos. We'll get to all those games in just a moment, but I want to get to a few things. We got a good amount to talk about on the kickoff topic. And we're going to start off, let's clear the screen here. Let's start off with the Giants, who today got some unfortunate news that they have been fined $150,000, and Ben McAdoo, the head coach, has been fined $50,000 for the illegal use of walkie-talkies during a game. Now, it was during a 5-play stretch that happened when the communications between Eli Manning and Ben McAdoo were not working over headsets. So instead, Ben McAdoo decided to grab a walkie-talkie and use that instead. Now, that is illegal according to the NFL. Only the backup quarterback is allowed to use a walkie-talkie, and that's only for listening purposes, I believe. They might be able to use it via talking. I'm not too sure, but as far as I'm concerned, it's just for listening to, for the backup quarterback. But regardless, the head coach is not supposed to use it, but during a 5-play stretch, the NBC cameras, in fact, caught Ben McAdoo using the walkie-talkie during that portion of the game, so it was blatantly obvious that he was breaking the rules, and there was no way out of it for the Giants, so they had to cooperate with the NFL with the investigation, and ultimately it was decided that they would get a $150,000 fine. Ben McAdoo would get $50,000 and fine. He won't receive $50,000 as a reward for his neglective behavior. Now the one last thing, they had their 4th round pick downgraded, which means that instead of where it would end up landing, which would probably be in the second half of the draft anyway, it'll be at the very bottom. So that's gonna hurt, I guess, a little bit. But the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I think that look, I'm a Giants fan. I've said this over and over again. But isn't it weird that the Giants, they got a pretty, I think, lenient, they got a lenient punishment for this, because what they did was pretty blatant. Like, I know it's just the first time. That's gonna be the argument when comparing this to other, past punishments, suspensions, fines, the loss of draft pick, or anything like that. You look at this and it's really light. Considering that the evidence is right there. Meanwhile, you have situations where you had Ray Farmer and the Browns last year. He was suspended 4 games for texting during a game, texting questions. I don't know all the details of that, but he was suspended 4 games for doing that, and that had to involve a whole investigation where they had to actually look at his phone and see what he actually texted things. And I guess, and to me, like, I don't see how that. I mean, maybe because I think what the difference is that the Browns, that was their second time that they've done that, or it's the second time that they're going after them for for another investigation, I guess. So that's why the punishment came down really hard. But 4 games for that. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. So put that in comparison to what we saw on Sunday night 2 weeks ago when the Cowboys faced against the Giants. Or when the Giants faced the Cowboys, actually. We're talking about the Giants here. It's weird to me that the punishments are just really obscure. And then you compare this to Deflategate, which I've been kind of one of those people that have been... I don't think that we will ever know what truly happened in Deflategate, and I think the basic, understanding that I have of it is that it was cold temperatures and the ball slightly deflated, but then the Colts wanted to start up an investigation about that, and it blew the fuck up. That's how I interpreted Deflategate to me, and without not a lot of evidence, Brady got four-game suspension. There was a huge fine that the Patriots had to pay. They got docked a first-round draft pick and a fourth-round draft pick. To me, that's incredible. I know the Patriots have had past investigations. They've done things in the past, potentially. But I at the same time, does Tom Brady deserve 4-game suspension over that? The only reason that he got that, as far as I'm concerned... the only reason I can see that I can understand him getting that suspension is him not cooperating, him destroying his cell phone. That's sketchy to me. But at the same time, wouldn't that just be like a game or two at 4 games? I think that whole investigation was terribly mishandled, and it was just a mess from the beginning. And to have that be such a harsh penalty against the Patriots, and that was so much more blatant for the Giants to get off, it definitely makes me, it's sketchy to me what the NFL is doing in terms of how they are punishing teams. Now again, I understand that was the first time that the Giants have had something like that happen, and the Browns, in that instance, and the Patriots have had histories, apparently. I still think that because does it work that way in this legal system that if you commit a crime one time, you get a lesser penalty than someone who has committed a ton of crimes does? I mean, that could be the case, and if that's the case, then that's fine. But would the Patriots receive the same exact penalty for doing what Ben McAdoo, would Bill Belichick receive the same exact penalty as Ben McAdoo did with this walkie-talkie thing? That's what my proposal is. And again, I know it sounds like I'm arguing against the Giants. I'm not. I'm arguing against the NFL and how they're doing things. And I think the Giants screwed up, and they know they screwed up. And they've had a weird year, the Giants. They've done this, and then they apparently almost started up Deflategate 2, and that was annoying. I was so glad that kind of went away quick, because I was just like, there's no way I'm not gonna deal with this shit. And then the whole Josh Brown thing was terribly mishandled. So I'm not happy with ownership with the Giants, but I don't really... I'm not happy with what Ben McAdoo did at all. But my frustrations more so lie with the NFL's inconsistency for punishments, not as much as the Giants and what they've done. So that's where I'm at on the whole thing. I just thought I wanted to put my thoughts out there. Let me know what you think. You could definitely disagree with me on that. I have no problem with that. I would love to hear what you think about the whole thing. Do you think it is a suspicious thing that the NFL went easy on the Giants? Do you think this was a proper punishment on the Giants? Do you think the Giants should have maybe got less of a penalty even? Who knows? I just want to know what you guys think. And lastly, on our kickoff topic, I want to talk about the Pro Bowl real quick because yesterday, or when I'm recording this an hour ago, they announced the Pro Bowl rosters, and I wanted just to give my quick thoughts on it. And the first thing that stands out to me is disrespect to the Detroit Lions. And I know the Giants beat them last week, but this team has been playing so well throughout the season. Maybe not in the early parts, but they've gotten better, and they're a win and the Packers' loss away from clinching the title, the NFC North title. So why is it that they got no players whatsoever in the Pro Bowl? I mean, maybe that they don't have anyone amazing, and there might be some players in the position groups that are better on other teams than they are on the Lions. But Matthew Stafford has had an MVP-like season. He has played really good football. For him to not be included on the initial Pro Bowl roster, I think that's a real shame. Probably when it comes around to it and we get to, when after the NFC, AFC championships games and, the Super Bowl teams decided will pull their players from the Pro Bowl and all the injured players pull themselves from the Pro Bowl, you'll see Matthew Stafford on the roster. More than likely, he'll end up getting a Pro Bowl bid. But I think the fact that he didn't initially get it, I think he was robbed, personally. But as for everyone else, I didn't really see like a huge they should have gotten it. I think that there is a lot of there's a lot of great players in the league right now, and I think that they have a good group here. Who I'd like to see, and maybe it's just because I have a little bit of bias, but Leonard Williams, he was having a great year for the Jets. I mean, and they have no players on the Pro Bowl. Maybe they don't deserve to have a player on the Pro Bowl, but he's been playing pretty well. He's a first alternate. He'll get in if another defensive end drops out, but Leonard Williams, I tip my hat to him because he's having a great season regardless of how well the Jets are doing. So he just saying, I just feel like he deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. Another thing that I'm looking at it now, trying to decide what I want to talk about. Dan Bailey is not on it. Matt Bryant is. Maybe I thought Dan Bailey was more of an accurate kicker than Matt Bryant, but maybe I just haven't seen a lot of Atlanta games to see. But I'm gonna start a little kicker controversy. I'm gonna be pissed. We were running down the streets yelling Bailey's name out that he deserves to be in the Pro Bowl. But I'm not saying that Matt Bryant doesn't, and I'm not saying that anyone on the roster doesn't deserve it. But I want to give light to anyone that does it. But again, as I'm looking at this list, I can't think of anyone that really stands out like this person got screwed 100%, other than maybe Matthew Stafford. And yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm looking at, now that I'm looking at it, I think we're good. I think that's really all I can really point out over the course of those rosters. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think that a player deserves more credit to being on the list? Oh, and Drew Brees, by the way. Drew Brees was another guy that got snubbed. But again, I don't know who he would replace others with, so who knows. But if there's any players that you feel like should be in, and if you feel like there's any players that should not be in, please let me know in the comments below. Love to hear what you think. It's all part of the program. Let's get to our predictions. Alright, so 145-77 on NFLPickWatch.com, which keeps track of all the experts. I'd be ranked around number 15, number 16 on the list. Again, not where I was a few weeks ago, where I was closer to being in the top 5, top 6, but still a really good record. We had a fantastic week, going 12-4. And I feel good going down the stretch. I mean, at this point, we can't have a losing regular season record. And I believe the record that I finished with, I could be wrong, I think I finished with 153 wins in the regular season. I will double check that, but I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case. I'm hoping I'm hoping that's the case, so that way we can hopefully jump that this week or in the upcoming week. So 145-77 is my current record, so that's pretty cool. So now let's get into the predictions and the playoffs. the playoff picture is heating up right now as we go on to Thursday Night Football as the Giants head to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Before we start to talk about the actual game itself, a few things. The Giants are going to be wearing throwback color rushes, which is going to be a lot of fun. Not necessarily, well, I guess you could say that because they have the little stripe. They almost look like Bills uniforms, but they have them all. It's all in white, and then you have like the blue with the red outline and the red, like blue and red stripe on the sleeves and on the helmet. Instead of just being NY, it's Giants across the helmet. So that's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And another thing, here is the current playoff scenarios for the Giants, who are currently at the 5th seed. They can clinch a playoff berth this week with a win and or a Detroit loss, or a Green Bay loss, or a Tampa Bay loss, or an Atlanta loss. When I talk about these playoff scenarios, I'm not going to talk about ties because they don't usually happen. If they do, obviously you'll find out if a team clinches or not. But we're going to talk about just win-losses. So 5 games if any of those 5 games fall in the direction of either a win for the Giants or a loss for the Lions, Packers, Buccaneers, and Falcons, that's it. They're in. And you know what I get as a Giants fan, as someone who's been so pessimistic about this team, how well it's been performing, I still can sit here and say they're going to miss the playoffs. But if they do it this week, I will be very proud of them. It would be a great turnaround from last year. It would just be insane for them to make it. But they've been playing really well, and they would deserve to be in at this point with how great the defense has been playing. With that being said, this is going to be a tough matchup for them, merely because it's a divisional rivalry. And the Eagles have always played the Giants tough, especially when they are in Philly. It's going to be a rough battle for the Giants. This is not going to be a blowout. I'm going with the Giants, but I don't have a lot of confidence in it. Going with New York. All right. Dolphins at the Bills, and the Dolphins have some clinching scenarios this week. With a win and a Broncos loss, they could actually make it into the playoffs. That would be incredible, and it could be likely. They could beat the Bills, and then the Broncos face the Chiefs, who are always playing them tough. So it could happen this week. Other scenarios include the Dolphins tying with the Bills. Again, I don't really see that actually happening, but we'll see what happens. So a win is a must. A win or a tie is a must right now for the Dolphins' playoff hopes to be alive. And against Buffalo in Buffalo, you never know. But I have enough confidence in this Miami team after the way they played last week. I know it was against the Jets, but Matt Moore might be able to do enough damage, not enough damage to opposing teams, rather, to actually get the wins for Miami. And they're playing great right now. I don't think they're gonna slow down. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins. All right, the Jets at the Patriots. The Patriots clinching scenarios right now they already have a first round bye. They already have the AFC East Championship. What they still need to clinch is a home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. So that means they need to win against the Jets on Saturday and then have the Raiders lose to the Colts in order for that to happen. Both need to happen, not one or the other. So it's still a close race to see who gets that home field advantage. But my money is on the Patriots making it, but we'll see what happens. So this is easy to me, though, this matchup. The Patriots dominating, kicking ass. They seem like they're on their way to the Super Bowl no matter what. And my motto has always been not to pick against them because they're just always good. You can never count them out. So I'm going with the Pats. All right. The Titans at the Jaguars. The Jaguars definitely can't clinch because they're out of it. Titans can't clinch this week, but they are in the hunt. I gotta hope for a win and maybe a Texans loss. If they win, I mean that's might be enough for them to surpass the Texans. But the Titans are sitting in really good position right now if they can win against the Jags. Now it's pretty interesting right now for the Jaguars as they just fired head coach Gus Bradley. He is out in Jacksonville. So for me, I always find these interesting because it did work out last week for the Rams. But last year, every single time a team fired their head coach, the next week they ended up winning the game, and sometimes in huge fashion. So can the Jaguars upset the Titans and upset their playoff hopes? That's yet to be seen, but I'm going with the Titans. They've been rolling. They beat the Broncos. They beat the Chiefs. These guys are kicking butt down the stretch. If they play like they did the past 2 weeks, they should easily take out the Jaguars and take out the Texans and have a one-way ticket to the number 4 seed, probably. So I'm going with the Titans. All right, Vikings at the Packers. So quite a few clinching scenarios for both teams here. Actually, I'm sorry. Vikings can't clinch. Packers can clinch, though. Basically, what would need to happen for the Packers to clinch a playoff berth would be the Packers need to win a Redskins loss, a Buccaneers loss, a Falcons win. And then I think if all of that happens, Packers can clinch the strength of victory tiebreaker over Tampa Bay, and that will essentially clinch a berth for them. So that's going to be a huge game for the Packers, especially if the Redskins falter against Chicago, if the Buccaneers lose to the Saints, and then the Falcons kick the Panthers booty. So a lot can fall into place. Vikings, they are a mess. They lost terribly to the Colts. I don't think they can win another game this year, honestly. I think they could lose to the Bears in week 17. So I'm going with the Packers. All right, Chargers at the Browns. This is a big game for the Browns. There's nothing else about it. They need this game in order to avoid going 0-16, because then next week they face the Steelers, and it would take a real meltdown by the Steelers for them to win that game. So this is their chance right now to go against the San Diego Chargers team that is beat up big time. Yes, the Chargers, they played very, very close against the Raiders, but now they face a Browns team that is aching for a win, their first win of the season. I don't think it's going to happen for the Browns. I'm going with the Chargers. Sorry, Browns. You're going 0-16, it seems like. All right. Redskins at the Bears. And this is a huge game for Washington. They need this big time because now they just lost to the Panthers. They weren't supposed to lose to the Panthers, but it ended up being so anyway. And their playoff hopes are slowly fading away. They need this win, and they need the teams around them to fall apart in order for them to get into the playoffs. It's not going to be easy. It might not be hard, but it's definitely not easy. To me though, this is a great game for the Redskins to rebound against. The Bears, they're playing pretty well, but they're not finishing games. I'm going with the Redskins. All right, Falcons at the Panthers, and quite a bit of clinching scenarios here for the Atlanta Falcons. So first they have the chance to clinch the NFC South this week with a win and a Tampa Bay loss. Then Atlanta can clinch a playoff berth in general if Atlanta wins, and then that would essentially clinch a strength of victory tiebreaker over Detroit. They could also win with a Green Bay loss and a win rather. They can win their game and have Detroit lose. they can have the Redskins and Green Bay lose in order for Falcons to clinch, or they can have the Redskins, the Packers tie, and then the Lions lose in order for the Falcons to get into the playoffs. That's all very, very confusing, I'm sure, but well, they're basically getting close. That's all you have to know, and really, it all comes down to winning. If you win, you got a good shot of getting in. So, looks like the Falcons, they're on the cusp. And right now, the Panthers had a great game against the Redskins, but the one problem is that they've had trouble closing out games. And the Falcons, I just think the Falcons, you can't do that to a team like the Falcons. I think the Falcons are a better team than the Redskins, and I think it's going to show on Saturday. So I'm going with the Falcons. Probably will be wrong about that because the Panthers are always shocking. All right, the Colts at the Raiders. The Raiders have clinched a playoff spot. Congratulations to them. That's a huge win for them. I cannot believe that the Raiders are in the playoffs, and it's just, you always feel good when an underdog team that was so crappy 2 seasons ago, coming out of nowhere, and now running the show, potentially winning the AFC West, potentially clinching home field advantage for the Patriots. Who knows? But that would be amazing. And I'm so looking forward to what they can do in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. They have had some struggles as of late, but you never know. They could turn on anything can happen in the playoffs. They can turn on the fuse and just completely bull rush everyone, or they can lose in the first round. We'll see what happens. Their clinching scenarios this week is that if they win and Kansas City loses, they got the AFC West title. It's as simple as that. Can they beat the Colts? Well, the Colts blew out the Vikings last week, so there's a legitimate chance that the Colts could upset the Raiders as well. However, I have enough faith in the Raiders to take down the Colts, a team that has been so inconsistent week after week. Going with Oakland. All right, Buccaneers at the Saints. Tampa Bay has clinching scenarios this week. With a win, and a Green Bay loss, and a Detroit loss, and a Washington loss, they could clinch a playoff berth. So they're going to have to root for everyone falling apart around them. It is going to be fantastic for them. But it's gonna have to take a lot to do it. But the Buccaneers have been playing really well, and they almost beat the Cowboys. Could not complete the last drive, but it was a very close game, and you have to give them credit for sticking in the game, not having the Cowboys blow them out. And it was 26-20 game. So there you go. The Buccaneers, they're playing fantastic football. The Saints, they beat the Cardinals in the offensive shootout. But the defense for the Buccaneers, I think, will show up on Saturday and will beat the Saints in a very tough place in Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I'm going with the Bucs. All right, the Cardinals at Seahawks. I don't believe, do Seahawks have clinching scenarios this week? No, they do. They can clinch a first-round bye with a win, a Detroit loss, and an Atlanta loss. So a lot of eyes on five or six particular games in the NFC. But it is going to be it would be huge for them to actually get that first-round bye, because they need that home field advantage throughout a majority of the playoffs at least. Doesn't seem like they're going to get in fact, they can't get the home field advantage. It can only go to either the Cowboys or Giants, depending on who's the NFC East champion. But they do have a legitimate shot at getting a first round bye, and hopefully they do that. Because again, CenturyLink Field is an amazing place to play. I would like to see that at least twice in the playoffs. It would be nice. So for me, I am going with the Seahawks in this one. Cardinals flew apart. You want to go into bird terms? They flew apart in the Saints loss. So not going to happen. Seahawks are playing way too well. All right, Niners at the Rams. This is a matchup of utmost importance for the number one pick in the 2017 draft. The 49ers need to keep pace with the Browns, and they need to lose this game against the Rams. But let me tell you something. Chip Kelly's team is not going to give up in this one. In fact, they're going to fight their ass off, and they're going to upset the Los Angeles Rams. Although that's not really an upset because the Rams suck. But the 49ers suck even harder. But this time, I'm saying the 49ers will suck less than the Rams. I'm going with the Niners. All right. Thursday Night Football, otherwise known as Saturday Night Football, between the Bengals and the Texans will cap off the Saturday slate. Was hoping they flex this. Guess they didn't. I don't know really which matchup they would have flexed. But there is I don't really enjoy this matchup a lot. With that being said, though, there is a legitimate chance here that either team can win. The Bengals have played the Steelers tough. They just couldn't finish the job. The Texans benched Brock Osweiler, and now Tom Savage is the new starting quarterback for the Texans. And he played pretty well in the win against the Jaguars. So there is a legitimate chance that the Texans now have a quarterback that can get shit done. We'll see against the Bengals. For me, this is a tough one. It's a toss-up, and usually I go with the home team, but there's just something within me that screams that Andy Dalton, after years of being embarrassed in prime time and being embarrassed by the Texans on a constant basis, he is finally going to get some revenge. He is going to beat the Texans and really put a dent in the Texans' playoffs hopes. And then the Texans will have to head to Tennessee and hope to clinch the AFC South there. If not, they're out. Thursday Night Football, otherwise known as Sunday Night Football, against the Ravens and the Steelers. Well, no, yes, the logo is facing the Ravens and Steelers. But this is huge. This is probably the biggest matchup all weekend right now, because I don't know if there's a legitimate chance that both teams could make it, but it's not that, it's not too likely. I think whoever wins this is going to get into the AFC North, win the AFC North, and then I think the Ravens or the Steelers, whoever loses, they could be out of the playoffs altogether. So this is like a do or die game. Whoever wins this gets in, and whoever doesn't probably is out. And so this is going to be a fantastic game. It always is. This is a great rivalry. Right now the Steelers are on a 3-game, 4-game, 5-game. I don't even know how long, but it's been a while since they've beaten the Ravens, and they need a win in their home on Sunday, and I think that they're going to get it done. I think that their offense is playing extremely well. Their defense is under the radar, playing very, very well, and I think this is a team that legitimately has a shot at beating the Patriots and making it to the Super Bowl. So, if my saying that, if that is true, they beat the Ravens. So I'm going with the Steelers to beat, and that will essentially, that's their clinching scenario right there. That they would, if with that win, they get into the AFC North. They're the AFC North champions. I'm getting tired now as I'm going through, so now I'm just slowing down, not saying my words correctly. Oh well. Sunday Night Football on NBC. That's the actual day of the week. So the Chiefs take on the Broncos on Christmas night, and this is one of few chances the Broncos have left to get into playoffs. They need this victory, and right now, after a tough loss against the Titans, the Chiefs. They might need this victory in order to stay alive for the AFC West championship. I think that the Broncos, they played so well last year with their defense, but the defense this year is not saving them. And the Chiefs, I know they lost to the Titans, but I think the Titans are just really good, and the Chiefs, I think, have a great ability to rebound from their losses. I am going with the Chiefs, and that might single-handedly eliminate the Broncos from playoff contention. Who knows? All right. Monday Night Football, the Lions against the Cowboys. This is a huge, huge game in the NFC, a rematch of a playoff game that happened in 2014, finally meeting again, and who knows what could happen here. The Cowboys have been playing so well as of late, and their only struggles have been against the Giants and a little bit against the Vikings, but they still got that W. The Lions, meanwhile, they've been playing amazing football, but they hit a wall last week. Can they rebound and upset right now who's the team that's been playing some of the best football in the league right now? This is a tough game to pick. I think it could go either way. I am going to go with the boys at home, and the Lions will be heading back home to take on the Packers in the NFC North de facto championship, where one team will get in and the other won't. That is my prediction. And that is the prediction show. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Feel free to comment on anything that we've talked about today. I always love to hear anyone that wants to express their opinion on the matter. Just don't be a dick. That's really all I ask, which is very hard on the age of the internet to do. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Enjoy the football this weekend, some of the few that we have left. And be good to one another, be kind to one another. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.